I wonder, is self-care just becoming another thing to achieve? Is there a dark side to the wellness culture? Then you're going to want to listen to this episode to see, is self-care just another productivity hack? I'm going to talk about something that may be a little controversial. Is self-care just another productivity hack? The dark side of wellness culture. This has come up quite a bit because, as I talk about having a successful life that we feel satisfied in, a lot of times people are like, oh, it's just because I need some more self-care, right? But remember when self-care just simply meant I'm going to take a break. Now it's pretty much like an Olympic sport. So instead of just resting, we've turned relaxation into a fully optimized experience, complete with morning routines and productivity apps and an ever-growing list of things that you should be doing to properly unwind, because you can't just do it the regular way by taking a break, right? So gone are the days. Gone are the days of us simply like lying on the couch, maybe with snacks, maybe reading a book. Now, self care requires, if you've been looking at Instagram, if you've been hearing some of these gurus saying that self care is more about that, like that aesthetic bath, right? You've seen the video where they're going to have their bath, but there is the tray that goes across, and then the container that they've prepared of perfectly like selected snacks and their handcrafted green juice, and then their candles and their special music with binaural beats, if that's how you even say it. And then they've got their journal and then three gratitude journaling prompts. And like I'm just happy to take a bath, especially after the cleaners come, because then I know the bath's clean, right? Just like make sure the water's warm and let me lie there and don't bother me. How come it is that kids need to bother you when you're in the bath or even on the toilet, right? So if which type of bath is yours? I'm very curious. But then the other thing is like if you do self-care this way, this aesthetically pleasing productivity nailed in best at self-care thing, it's then you like have to document it too, right? So then there's the perfect video, the perfect photos in the well-lit Instagram post captioning prioritizing me with some like star emojis. And if that didn't go up, then did it even happen? And is all the work to put all that together and then to document it after on social, does that even just like cancel out any self-care that actually happened? And I will say when I mentioned about there's these like productivity like rituals and that, and I know I shared in the past years ago about the miracle morning and how wonderful it is, but I like it because it can be done as short as 6 minutes and it gives you a little bit of structure, right? But at this point in our lives, at this point in society, in this day and age, self-care is starting to feel like work. And honestly, that kind of defeats the purpose, right? We don't want to have to put so much effort and care into the self-care that we completely negate any rest that it has given us. And why does this matter? Well, when rest feels like another item on your to-do list, then it's not actually relaxing at all. And the thing is, as high achievers, we don't just do self-care like I'm going to go have a bath, I'm going to read my book. It's like we try to excel at it. And so instead of just reading our book, we're listening to our book. And then we're listening to our book at like two times speed or more. And so instead of simply like recharging and giving ourselves some space, we turn it into another box to check. And I have been even guilty of this with my daily devotion, right? I checked that I read that piece of scripture and then that one, and then I read the part of the book, and I've forgotten like the whole point is to connect with God. It's not to be like, boop, read that, read that, read that. It's to actually have the experience. And so how often are we doing the thing but not being present? How often are we in part with the self-care but not actually present and getting the benefits? So I want you to ask yourself, like, Did you do yoga this morning? Did you? And was it actually fulfilling? Or was it not that good because you didn't do it at sunrise, or you didn't do it in a hot yoga room, or you didn't hold your pose without twitching? And then did you drink water today? But was your water infused with electrolytes? Was it mineral water? Was it filtered with the sun, the light of the moon, right? Like you have good intentions for all of these. Did you meditate? Did you use an app to do it, or did you just meditate on your own? And then if you didn't meditate, how are you ever going to reach your peak mindfulness high achiever? How are you going to be able to do that if you didn't meditate? And the irony of all of this, there's pressure to do self-care correctly. And I just want to like squash that, push it aside. You don't have to do self-care perfectly or correctly. You just need to do it how it helps you to relax and recharge. Otherwise, it's another source of stress. So if it isn't clear already, self-care isn't just about bubble baths or perfect aesthetically pleasing or perfect self-care. It's about creating some boundaries around yourself and your self-care so that you can actually rest or enjoy or recharge. So here's the truth. Really, no one's talking about it because it makes good social media and it's things being sold to us all the time. But real self-care isn't always pretty and it isn't always fun. I'm going to say that again. Self-care isn't always pretty. It isn't always fun. There's a lady that I see and she is like a Chinese, she knows about Chinese medicine, acupuncture, acupressure, massage, all the things. And going there sometimes is messy, meaning I sometimes things hurt, sometimes I cry to release. And sometimes she gives me a very gentle talking to about things that I shouldn't be eating for my health, or some energy that has to move, or some changes I need to make in my life. But it does a world of good for me. So, yes, if you're lighting a candle and putting on a face mask and that feels nice, great. But do you know what's really transformational or transformative? Saying no to things that drain you. That's caring for yourself. And doing that without over explaining, just saying, no, I can't. Without having to come up with all these reasons and all these stories and feeling guilty afterwards. Really, it's going to bed when your body is tired, instead of pushing through another episode for your podcast or another email or making sure that your final dishes are cleaned. It's letting yourself eat a meal and just eating a meal without multitasking, without feeling bad that you're having carbs. It's just enjoying the food. So real self-care isn't about occasional pampering. And yeah, I get my nails done. I get my hair done. I get massages. I see this Chinese acupuncturist. I do the things that pamper me. But it's also about changing the way I operate daily. And I hope that you can do this too. Because then you don't have to constantly recover from your own life. You don't have to like take a whole weekend off or go to the spa for the day, because you don't have to be treating yourself so that you can work harder later, right? It's just about making daily, simple daily choices that allow you to feel well all the time. So for me, it's sometimes cutting meetings short so I have a space before the next one, at least for a bio break, right? Sometimes it's asking people to move our meeting time so I don't have to rush and feel stressed. Sometimes it's saying no to a new client, it just period, saying no to a new client, or saying no to a start date being right away and moving it later when it just feels more spacious. So a new perspective, if you haven't already gained it, is self-care isn't about making you work better, more productive, doing it perfectly, adding in pampering, right? This is the dark side of wellness culture that is pushing you to have to do it perfect. And you don't have to, right? Because somehow along the way, self care became yet another productivity hack. And instead of resting as we need to, we used to remember when, if you're my age, remember when stores weren't open on a Sunday? Do you remember that? And they weren't open on a Sunday and we could rest. And I remember my mom being like called into work for Sunday. And that was so shocking because Sunday was a day of rest. It's meant to be a day of rest. And we rest because it's supposed to make us feel more efficient and be more efficient later. So productivity people, high achievers, it's that rest so that you can do more. So get better sleep so you can maximize your performance. Take breaks during your day so you don't burn out and you lower your output if you don't take breaks, right? I really like the Pomodoro technique. We'll link in as well to where I talked about some time saving techniques. And the Pomodoro technique is a really great one to help you be uber productive for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break, or after three of those, a 10-minute break, so that you can increase your output. And meditating so you can handle stress better and stay focused. And if for you, meditating isn't sitting quietly, if meditating for you is a guided meditation, if it is music and even dancing, if it is just sitting quietly, listening to or looking at waves or nature, if meditating for you is a hike, great. Or praying or journaling, any of these things that help you to reduce the stress. Does that sound good? Yeah. But what if self-care wasn't about making you better, right? Better, faster, stronger. What if it was just about helping you feel like yourself again? If you don't feel like yourself currently, is it because you need to rest more? Is it because you need some true self-care? And ladies, you don't have to justify your rest. If you're tired, lie down. We have a pretty, have had a pretty big deadline this week with some guests coming to our house. And I just had a moment where I had done enough. I had done enough. And I still expected everyone else to keep going. But I said, I just need to lie down for a minute. Like I just have like burnt myself out for a moment. And so you don't have to prove that your self-care improves you in some way. If you are like, I only listen to uh, nonfiction books because I want to improve myself, but now your brain is overworking and now you're taking notes so that you can implement what this business guru has said, that's not helping you to rest and relax. Maybe you do need to re-listen to the whole Harry Potter series. Maybe you do need to have a little bit of a romance novel, even like a 50 Shades of Grey, if you haven't read that yet, just so that you can rest. You deserve to take care of yourself simply because you exist. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to get permission for it. And you don't do it just because it makes you more productive. So, how do you practice actual self care? I've kind of given you some ideas as we've gone through, but take a moment, you pause now or do it after, but redefine self care and what you truly need. Not what's trendy, not what wellness influencers swear by, what actually helps you feel good. Right now in all my social feeds, I'm seeing tons of cold plunges and hot saunas and all of these things that I'm at a point right now where I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I think my cortisol's too high. I don't like the cold, and so I'm not going to do it. And that's okay. And so if that's not for you, what is for you? Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's skipping the 5-step nighttime routine because you just want to go to bed. right? Maybe it's not pushing yourself to get the last 1,000 steps of your 10,000 steps. Maybe it's Pilates. Maybe it's prayer. Maybe it's lying on your floor to allow your back to relax. So, what do you truly need for self care? Then let's set some boundaries around those energy draining people. You know those people, the emotional vampires, just sucking your energy out of you, and setting boundaries around energy draining obligations. I was just speaking with someone who, uh, being the manager of her daughter's soccer team is just driving her bonkers because people are being a pain and there's just more and more responsibilities. So that's where maybe that obligation, and we actually talked about how this is going to end naturally. But if your self-care requires you to constantly recover from your actual life, that's a sign you need some better boundaries. Definitely not more bubble baths, right? Much easier. So that's the second one. Get some boundaries around energy draining people and obligations. And the last one is make space for real rest. Make space for real rest. Right before going on my 1 month long trip, I took a whole day before my in laws were arriving, before we were going away. I took a whole day to just get my hair done, go to Pilates, take care of a few things, and in a chill way, clean my house. Right? So make space for some real rest. Getting my hair done was real rest. Pilates was real rest. And I also took a little bit of time for myself to do my devotional. And I took a little bit of time just having a little lie down on my bed and doing nothing, just as I prepared for everyone to come home at the end of the day. So if you only let yourself rest when you feel like you've earned it, you're missing the point. I can remember, I can remember, I was actually just remembering it this morning, my mom saying there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do. And that's the truth. There's always something you can do. There's always a pan that can be washed. There's always an email that can be replied to. There's always a task that can be done in the business. There's always something, someone to call. But rest isn't a reward for being busy. It's just a basic human need, like breathing and maybe good snacks and moving your body and sleeping. It's a human need. We must rest. So, as I wrap this up, I just want you to remember self-care isn't a task. It's a way of being. And that could be one of the biggest shifts I share with you today. Self-care is not a task, it's a way of being. So if self-care feels like another thing to achieve, you've fallen into the dark side of the wellness culture. So it's time to rethink the approach that you have. Go through the questions I've asked you in this episode. Because the goal isn't to become a highly optimized wellness expert or to have the perfectly curated Instagram profile or to be the best at all the things in self-care. It's just to actually feel calm and to feel like a functioning person who enjoys life. It's a lot simpler than we make it. So next time someone tells you to lean into self-care, don't just add another habit to your already packed routine. There are too many things you already have to do. Instead, ask yourself the question, what do I need right now? What do I actually need right now? And then do that, even if it's just lying on the couch, maybe eating peanut butter straight from the container. No explanation required. If that's what you need to feel cared for by yourself, then go for it. Thanks for listening to this episode. Who is a friend that you have or a person in your life who needs to hear this message? I encourage you, share it with them. Be like, hey, there's some good points in here. Also, make sure if you haven't yet, hit subscribe And I haven't said this for a while, but hey, why don't you write us a review? If you've been listening to the Dynamic Women podcast, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So write us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. If you don't know how to do it, we will also drop the link to a video of how to be able to do a 5-star review for us. And if you, or when you do that review, take a screenshot of it, email it over to team@dianerolston.com so that we can send you a little something special in the mail. Okay, until next time, take care of yourself and stay dynamic. Bye.